We'll call the meeting to order. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Okay. Ted Carlson,
Here.
Terrence Kelly,
Here.
David Nesbitt,
Here.
Keith Silver,
Here.
Steve Strom,
Here.
Linda Richardson, Administrative Hearing Officer, is also here, and we have a quorum.
Thank you. We have an agenda. We have an item on our agenda clear down in 7B 2, and I'd like to move that up to, right as soon as we get to new business.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to move that. We have a witness if necessary to speak to that. So it's been moved and seconded to move 7B2 up to first on new business. And hearing the objection, we'll go forward with that. So do we have approval of the amended agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. We have 3 sets of minutes. One from our regular meeting last month on 11/20.
Oh, and I just want to point out, in the past I've been doing narrative minutes, and we're going to make a change to where we're going to action minutes because we do have a recording, and a recording is actually the best source of the information for a meeting. But I think what we're going to do is do what we're going to call topical minutes, so that I can summarize the topics, but not say, like I've done in the past, Mr. Nesbitt said this, and Dr. Strom said this. So it'll just be topical, and then we're going to use the recording as the go-to.
How did this come about?
Most everything else has gone in that direction.
All the other boards and committees have?
I don't know about the mayor's boards and committees, but our boards and committees have, and it's just an uncomfortable thing for the person who's interpreting the minutes that you are actually interpreting,
Right.
And so this just, when we have a recording, it really is the best place, to get information from.
Okay.
So.
Well, what does the body think? What do you guys think about that? I kind of like the narrative minutes. I have to admit,
Do you read them to see if I'm accurate and how
Well,
I'm?
I'm just thinking. We might remember the case that we had a couple months ago where I got online and I got the minutes from a particular board, and I wouldn't have been able to get the recordings that easily, but I was very easily able to get the minutes and then get a sense of what happened at the meeting and what the spirit was of the meeting and who was saying things like that. And so, I mean, if it's a lot of extra work for you, but I understand, but generally my sense is I do like it, since we ultimately approve these minutes anyway, and so if we feel the interpretations become a little bit too speculative on your part, we can correct that. But I think it's good for the public to kind of see the tone of the discussion.
Okay.
I have an idea to that end. Maybe we should hold off on this discussion while we have our guests and deal with it after they
Okay,
have theirs.
It was made a suggestion, so do we want to, but we still need to approve these minutes
Right.
and put that into
Of point of discussion.
point of discussion. Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion to approve the,
You want one motion for all 3, or you want individual?
well, if we can do that unless somebody has we can do that if somebody has unless somebody has an objection.
I move to approve all 3 minutes. Just the minutes, 20th, 12/5, 12/6.
I would just point, excuse me if you see me over here starting to sweat, but I have the flu right now.
Oh.
I seriously, as long as I could, I came for the meeting and I have the flu.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for putting all the books together for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Go wash your hands after the meeting. Keep your hands away from your face.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve all all the minutes of our previous meetings, 11:20, 12:05, and 12:06. Any objection to passing the minutes or approving the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are passed. Do we have any special appearance requests? No. And no special orders of business or executive session that I'm aware of. Okay, moving right on to 7B2 for the request for waiver, Kenny Engineering.
So for 7B2, go past your goldenrod sheet on 7B. And there's the email.
Those of us who, a couple years ago, we suggested, we approved a waiver for just doing a one-time annual. Seems like it was somebody for the school district, that was repairing air pellet gun, so that.
He was repairing it. He was
Yeah.
also the coach of
Yeah.
the rifle team up at service, I think.
We went out of order because Miss King is being refreshed.
The only question I have in regard to this is, this June Kinney, does that individual have any, she's just a teacher with the school, so she doesn't have any input as to contracts or purchasing or anything like that, I take it.
That's what the letter
The
says.
letter specifically says.
Huh?
Go to the next page, just
Yeah.
goes through.
Yeah.
Some of these details.
Second grade teacher at Sand Lake Elementary and is not involved in any way with the ASB procurement process. So midway down.
Yeah. So they're asking for a waiver, only for the Anchorage School District.
That's, they wish, only for the work with the Anchorage School District Facilities Department.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Can you go ahead and speak
Hi,
up?
my name's Joanne Mitchell. I'm the marketing director at Kinney Engineering. And just to clarify, it's for work with Anchorage School District Facilities Department and just those solicitations that they put out by letter of interest or letter of intent, I think is what they're called. It's like a 7-day turnaround. They're for projects that are less than $10,000. They don't want to go through the whole RFP process. And we don't have time to file the regular notice of intent to respond because that takes 7 to 10 days. So what we're requesting here is just for those small letter of interest responses to not have to submit that the usual notice of intent. On a large proposal, large procurement that is over that $10,000 kind of cap that they put on it, we would go through the usual process. So it's
Okay,
just
so
for those
you're,
small ones.
you're stating anything over 10,000, because this letter says up to 25,000,
Oh,
24,999.
yeah, sorry. I don't think that they have a definite definition of it, although I guess that they do, that $24.99. Sorry, I didn't reread it before I opened the mouth, but, and
Is
like I
this-
said, they just do it occasionally, they're very, very quick turnaround. There was one we just passed on that was a $7,000 contract.
And so, and these are all still competitively bid. That-
No, it's the qualifications-based selections. And so the school district will send out a letter to like 3 or 4 firms that they'd like to get a qualification-based selection response from. We submit our credentials, our experience, and then they make a choice.
So, but it's procurement that makes the choice.
The facilities department project manager on these does those, it's not a committee.
Does a municipality do the same thing, Dee? Do you know? On a
On
certain
the small,
level?
they can have, yes.
Is it less than 25,000?
I'm not sure what the amount is.
Yeah.
I think it's under 30, as a
Okay,
matter
all
of fact.
right.
but-
And they do it the same way, which is
They have an informal process.
They have a pool of
Yeah. the-
contractors, for the lack of a better word, that they would go to.
And smaller amounts, and they need it done more quickly.
Okay.
So comparable, informal, small.
Okay.
Have we identified the waiver provision? I think there is a specific provision, and I'm trying to find that because it had terms to it. I'm looking in, and I'm sorry to interrupt it, I'm looking in, under employees, 1.15025, and then E would be acquisition of economic interest. I'm trying to see where it is and did it provide any guidelines. And I remember because Terry, remember you and I went through this at one point. You wanted to say, oh, we should do this, and I said, well, wait a minute, there's a code section.
Or B has substantial financial and private interest.
I'm looking at E, acquisition of economic interest. So you're thinking maybe it's in B.
Well, I'm trying to, if they,
Okay,
that would be if
this-
they influence the official action, which,
Yeah,
you
this
know,
had to do with the actual contract. And that's what I'm thinking it's probably closer to 5. And there was a provision, I think, that addressed this. I just want to make sure the terms of that provision, where it says. I think in the last case, Terry really wanted to go further than the code provided, just out of common sense.
yeah, I think this is prior to coming in. The last case we did this was on the teacher that was, or the gym
Shotguns
teacher.
or
Yeah,
guns or
mhm,
something.
air pellets. We've done this 2 or 3 times.
In its sole discretion, the board may approve the filing of a periodic notice to be listed on an annual basis upon application by the employee demonstrating the nature of the work and the relationship between the municipal employee and the administrative unit soliciting the work, renders the electronic publication of the periodic notice
Okay,
adequate.
that sounds like it. Which one, what is that? What's
That
that?
is in E sub 1. At the bottom of the paragraph, right above 2.
Yep, there it is. Okay, thank you, Linda.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So it's not really a waiver, it's more kind of
Right.
like a
Annual.
subsuming notice that covers a class.
So then we could just approve this one, right?
That's right, and then say.
The notice of intent, we could say approved for 12
Or
months.
1.15.025 E sub 1. Yeah.
As a periodic notice,
Yeah.
like annually or?
Yeah, an annual,
Is that
it's, this
a
allows
reasonable
for the
period of
annual.
time?
And then maybe limit it to the
Mhm.
letter of interest from a
Mhm.
ASD.
Would that work for like an annual type of a?
Yeah, that was
Right.
my.
The concept is
convenient
that.
for time.
Calendar year 2014.
Yeah.
Right, and the concept is that filing one for each one of these smaller projects doesn't, it's just inconvenient and doesn't
We
make
don't
sense.
have the time
Right.
because of the turnaround that they require on those.
Right.
We don't have to notice stuff.
Okay.
so.
So I think, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to make the motion?
Well, I think we
Yeah.
do,
Yes,
but
please.
it just needs to be worded so that it only pertains to those particular type of contracts.
Mhm.
However we have to approve it. There's nowhere on the form actually
Yeah,
for
this
us to
isn't a
sign,
waiver
right?
form.
Right.
So we should
Like,
put one together. We may have done it for that other case.
Yeah.
We may be able to, and just quickly put it together and have it on file somewhere, and then your firm would have it
Yeah,
review
Right.
in the
Totally
ASD
submit it.
procurement, as long as it stayed within these parameters.
right. But we need to just address
Mhm.
these specific types of projects,
Mhm.
whatever the proper name of those contracts are.
And Keith,
Yes.
so would that be a letter of interest? That's the name of that informal
Okay,
process.
sure, yeah.
Okay? And is the board comfortable up to the it's 24,989
Mhm.
under 25,000?
Right, because that
probably have some type
follows,
of-
I think, the intent of that process, right?
Well, yeah,
And
as
you
I
just-
understand, it's when you figure the size of the school budget, 25,000 is de
Yeah.
minimis.
Right.
And to do, and sometimes I understand the timeliness of getting projects done, and if they've got a group of qualified people to do.
But this approval would not apply to any
Projects greater than
greater than 20.
24,999.
Yeah.
But that's-
Yeah.
And you said, where would we have this? In a,
Oh, we did a former waiver, and maybe we did a form for that, but if not, I mean, a simple paragraph response, I think would be fine, and that we can hand out instead of
Okay.
spending too much
We've done in
time.
the past, we just wrote a letter to the people.
Okay.
The guy who repaired air guns, and then Dooley was the other guy, remember, he was doing uniforms for sports teams and stuff like that. And it was the same.
So it's just a simple letter.
Yeah, we've done this
Simple
on
letter saying,
a couple occasions.
we reviewed your application and we grant you, and what the letter typically says is, we grant you, an annual waiver for particular, and then we can specify contracts for this administrative unit up to this level. This is only for a year, and if any significant changes occur, for instance, in the type of employment that the family member has or something like that, then you need to come back to the board.
it's their obligation to report to the board and update the board.
Yeah.
So since we're so close to the end of the calendar year, so could we just make it effective for calendar year 2014?
Okay.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, works good. Yeah, okay.
And same time next year, they would submit another request.
Yeah.
Sure, and if we have something like that, we've used, I don't need to see it again.
I've got
Yeah.
that letter.
Do you have it?
Yeah, it's on my
Yeah.
computer.
I'm
somewhere,
comfortable
so
just
I can find
firing
it as
that
a
off.
template.
Yeah, I don't need to see that again.
No.
Uh,
I just wanted to make sure that there was a starting and ending date.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
not
they're
just-
asking for a starting date from December 1 this year through December 31st next year.
Next year, yeah.
mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
you can call it January 1 if you want at this point.
Okay, at this
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this was originally done November 25th, but this is our first meeting opportunity since then.
So.
Have you, you said there was a pool. Is Kenny in this pool already? Have you performed these types of contracts before?
We haven't responded to these
Oh,
small
okay.
ones because the first one we were approached on, I asked the question, well, don't we have to file some paperwork to
Right.
send these waivers to the school district? And then this all came about.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. No, I'd like to encourage
But
the,
they said it's fewer than a dozen a year. So-
okay. Yeah.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
I was going to say, so moved as discussed, or yeah, I don't.
No,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean,
I would
don't-
say move to draft a short letter similar to one that we've used in the past.
Yeah.
And Mr. Kelly, have you offered to pull up one of our previous letters?
That's a hair, Professor, Dr.
Hair?
Hair, Professor.
TK for me.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, and then I would,
Would this letter be submitted with a new application, to be at the beginning of the year and noticed on the website and kept there for a year?
That's right.
Okay.
mhm. That's
Okay,
right.
we have
So
a-
I move to draft that letter and then would send it out without further discussion by the board.
Second.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Any opposed?
So would you like me to be responsible for getting the letter from Terry and
Yes.
getting a new application to
Yes, please.
Ms. Grisham? Okay.
Assuming that you're feeling
you're
better.
alive.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
So
right.
they've got sufficient time to get all that done between now and the end of the year,
For the new
I
year.
would hope.
Okay.
And when you say new application, just that you want that in a piece of paper that says request for waiver? Or request for
Don't we
waiver
have
for
Well, the
here?
one
disclosure?
that
I think
we
you-
had done in the past, they also had a notice of intent to respond to publication, public solicitation filled out with it.
Yeah, because
So-
all we're doing is we're just allowing them to publicly notice once
Once,
Yeah.
for the entire year. So waiver can be a little bit of a misnomer.
Yeah,
All
it's
this
not really
waiver,
waiver,
they
yeah.
have to keep doing it over and over and over again. Just saying, just notice it once for the year, and provided that the nature of the contracts and the nature of the employment doesn't change in any significant way, then that'll be good for the entire year.
Yeah, I mean,
That's right. In that way too, they pay the fee and then I get it noticed and it's there.
right, so provided, if there's significant change in the teacher's employment and she becomes, she starts working
Works
at Darren
in-
Hargrave facilities,
Yeah.
then we have to revisit that.
Well, it's the
I
contract-
doubt that's going to happen.
The contractor's obligation to update the
Yes.
board if things change.
Well, so This one that we submitted won't work.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we just
Yeah.
respond to this one?
And in this one, you check that she has no involvement
Yeah.
with the procurement process.
Couldn't we just use this one? Our response would be, I thought was to
I think
this.
you have one, there's one there.
Yeah,
It doesn't make sense for me to fill a whole new form
Right.
out.
yeah.
So that was what I was questioning,
Yeah.
is what is the new application?
This is the new form.
The new
They've
form?
used an old form here.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
trying to see if,
So would you mind updating this?
How is the new form different from the old form?
well,
Did you add, is that those things that you added in?
all the things that we added in, and then there's some parts on here that haven't been filled out that we were going to try to make sure the new procedure were filled out
Okay.
on every form that we accepted.
For everything calendar year 14?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind working with the clerk's office on a new form? We tried to streamline this for you, but it looks like the new form is.
Is the new form posted online then to break up this one?
Yes, it is. The new form is
Okay.
online.
But unfortunately,
Is
it's
that relatively
50
recent?
pages long.
That's right.
Like within,
It's only once a year, but it is extensive.
This was
Streamlined it.
this was submitted November 25th, that's the reason I asked the question. So that's within 5 days.
which
of
is
when-
really funny because that looks like an old form, even older than the one that was on there previous to this. So,
Well,
It
sometimes-
might have been one that maybe you pulled off your own computer that you just update periodically.
No, I think enough folks, I mean,
Huh.
this is kind of new.
Yeah.
Right.
Huh,
Yeah, because
okay.
the giveaways, and as the seal at the top says, territory of Alaska.
Yeah.
Under federal law.
And so then we
Bizarre.
And then we get the $15 fee at that time when they bring in the new one?
yes.
Okay.
And what I can do is I can send you one whenever you get the letter. And then I'll send you like a packet. So I'll send you the letter and the form.
Okay.
And then you can return that to our office and we'll do the fee and I'll do the notice.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Sure.
And thank you for approaching us with this.
Sure, thank you for considering.
Can they do a credit card over the phone with you?
We-
Make payment?
Yes.
Is that part of the new form?
Well, I would not suggest that
Yes,
they
it
put a credit card
is.
number
We
on
just
it.
recently did credit card, so
Okay.
that's part of the
I'm
new
just
form.
trying to
Digital
ease
big
the pain for her to make. All
Thank you.
right, thank you. All right, let me go back to our current meeting packet.
Is it one here? Am I?
No, you're catching me.
Yeah. It missed Keith. It went right to you.
Okay, so moving on to the next item of business here under new business A, this gift disclosure form completed by teachers or employees of the municipality of Anchorage. So $50 for a suitcase. That's it.
Well, really, she didn't have to
No, she didn't have to
put it in.
Yeah, so
because it's not in
From a
excess.
drawing.
Well, agreed, but
It says a gift with the excess of $50.
well, she's estimating the value, but
what was it? It was at a conference.
it's probably one of those door prizes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she drew a winning award, so.
Okay, so do we have a motion to accept?
Well, where's that? Is that you have to report that no matter the value? Is that?
An award that is generally offered to a large class of people.
Yeah. Which is everyone that attended the conference.
Yeah, but we have this happen all the time. People put it down even though they win it, and you go like,
Well, I mean, the box that she checked was the one about in excess of $50, and so if there's no other reason why we would even review it, I would just say we don't even review it. I mean, I guess we can, but so my question was: is there a requirement to review a gift if it's through a drawing?
Well, my question is, does it meet the definition of a gift?
Oh, okay, I got you.
I suggest to the chair that we move on. We've
Yeah.
for 4 reasons we're not reviewing this
Yeah.
one.
okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to gift disclosure completed by elected officials. which we don't.
Let me count the ways.
In fact, there's nothing there. How about disclosure forms for these three people?
Where are you on now?
It's still in 7A,
I understand.
and you go down to Christine Roloff.
Are you here in Barber?
Yeah, it's on the other side of the Roloff. She doesn't have it. She doesn't appear to have any.
Property owner. Hmm.
With my state development activities.
Well, I think she's with the Planning and
So
Zoning
that's
Commission, so
kind of
she'll have to
expected.
disclose,
Yeah.
you know, if one of these two interests.
This is similar to the one we ruled on with County of Chanel. You know, she would have to excuse herself if
Yeah, or we could.
deciding on something that
Mm-hmm.
the family was involved with.
Right.
And then I'm looking here at the other one we have here for Eric Cowling, the last one.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He doesn't
say
declare
that.
anything.
Yeah, so we don't know if he has a conflict or not. Didn't put down none.
Well, so I
I
would say
follower.
he doesn't have it. So I
Right,
guess you
right.
could put none or leave it.
Well, it's the
blank.
same thing with
Yeah.
Lacey Zuccotti.
Well, maybe I can ask the boards and commission person, Karen.
Well, no,
West.
actually, this one does say none. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
small, very small print. I missed it.
That I can ask her to make sure that the staffers ask them to fill that portion in.
Even
so
if they
there's
put
no
none or
confusion.
NA, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like to do it.
Move approval.
With homework assignments.
We have a motion for approval of the disclosure forms.
Move to approve the disclosure form.
Second.
Any opposed? Motion. Do we have any?
Zuccotti. Patrick.
Are there any more of these?
Nope.
I'll review them for my.
I like that. That.
Oh, we're moving
Yeah,
on.
That's
here.
nice. Compared to those.
We're going to
Actually-
skip 7B1 and move on.
Now, is that a new form that you developed?
This is a new form with the things
I guess
that
we're
you
not.
all had asked me to put on there.
She's really in charge.
Yeah.
I need to get to run the.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead,
No, no,
Lisa.
no.
I know this is your stuff.
You know, we've added this little part in red at the top. If you are not responding to a public solicitation to bid initiated by MOA purchasing officer, do not complete this form. Because we got one of these last time that seemed like it didn't really go with this form. Remember the teacher that was going to do tutoring?
Oh,
And
Yeah.
it doesn't really, this isn't what this form is about.
right.
So, just right off the bat, we're going to eliminate those because I think we've gotten those in the past too.
Huh.
So,
Does the school district have their own form?
yeah, they do.
Okay.
So,
But they
and
may have
that-
gone on the website and gone to our website and pulled this form off as
pulled
opposed to the
this
school
form.
district. Yeah.
right. So, you all had asked me, I put together a procedure and then we talked about putting together a task list. So, if you see the second thing there, receiving notices of intent to respond to public solicitation, that's a task list that I developed. So that'll tell you the exact process that we go through in accepting.
Thank you for doing
Yeah.
that. That's good.
Yes.
Lisa, I wondered, it looks to me like this whole process applies to public solicitations to bid and to propose. Those are two different processes, request for proposal, RFP. And I'm thinking as I'm looking through that, it applies to both. And there would be no reason it wouldn't apply to what's called a request for proposal. Those are generally professional services versus a bid situation. So I wonder if we should just take out the word to bid.
To bid, okay.
So public solicitation. And have we, and you were just saying that the teacher one didn't work, but.
But I'm looking at
and-
4 farther out. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I am an employee of the ASD's Department of School is part of the form.
Because they could be an employee.
Yeah, but if they're going to bid, if they're
But
going to
only
respond
on
to a.
city, not school district stuff is what you're saying.
And that was my next question, is, should we be limiting it to the MOA purchasing officer? And I'm trying to look at the code here. This is a municipality, which would be the school district as well.
Right, it should be both, because they both fall under the same regulation.
Well, but I think the one that you mentioned, Lisa, was not even a school district solicitation. It was like a.
What was the charter?
It was.
She was
But-
disclosing that she's doing private tutoring she's a teacher and she's doing private tutoring, which is not a solicitation.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't even I mean, regardless of whether it was a city or a school district solicitation, it was neither.
Yeah, it wasn't
So-
a contract.
yeah.
With the
Yeah.
municipality.
Right.
That was the point.
Yeah.
But like the bids, like Kenny Engineering, if it was a big bid and bidded, they'd still have to fill out one of these forms, even though it didn't come through the municipal purchasing. So
Oh, is that being too specific?
Well, that's my money, and I mean, I think they all, I'm not sure they don't always come through purchasing or something
No.
like that,
Some
and then
of
the
the
school
school
district.
districts do.
Okay, and then the
Yeah.
school district has their own purchasing.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe
Unless-
we don't need this, and maybe it should just be, we need to watch for that when they come
Yeah.
into the office, whether it's an appropriate, for them to fill out this form.
Mhm.
So I'll just take that off.
Okay.
And then it talks about, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting, a copy to the purchasing department, but if it's an ASD employee, they would submit it to the ASD purchasing department. I don't think we need to draw the line there. I mean, ASD people know to work through the ASD procurement people. Yeah, that's a useful thing.
So, for instance, with the Kinney one that we just did, I noticed they didn't have their number 11 filled out. Now, is that one of the things we talked about, that she needed to have shown that to her supervisor at ASD and had them sign off on it?
Actually, I'm showing that she did.
Oh, she
11
did?
is- yeah, 11 is filled out.
Okay, what am I thinking? The
It's a different 11.
staff use.
So
Oh.
who signs that 11?
So it looked like something Huffman maybe from Sam.
Administrator.
Administrative supervisor.
Yeah, so she did have it.
Yeah. But you're talking about
I was
something on
thinking
the
of
new
I was
form.
thinking of the staff use only.
Oh, right
Yeah,
here.
it's still here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this wasn't filled out. Yeah.
Well, we have an opportunity for a new form to come in to correct that issue. And when people turn the forms in, are they reviewed by the people? Yeah.
Well, there
There's
should
somebody
be.
at the desk. when
That's
they're
what
standing
this-
There
there.
should
That's
be,
what
and
this
that's why we
checklist
wrote
is.
the
Yeah.
checklist,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it wasn't being done.
Rather than just accept it and say thanks, look at it and say,
Yeah.
well, you know, geez, it'll speed you up your process if we get this, and this
Right.
done as well.
Because we were getting them in here, and then like the one that we had so many questions about, so many things weren't filled out, but they were accepted through the office, so.
Okay, well, good luck in getting people to follow the procedures.
No, this is good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's a good
Well,
list.
thank you for your work.
Thanks, Lisa.
The next item on our agenda. Oh, you have more on this agenda than I remembered. You added an extra page. Is the annual report, and your office is working up the numbers.
It's already there. What I've done is just given you the template that we use
Oh.
each year, and everything that is in dark, I've updated. And then, for instance, here on we always have a topic that we expound on, or you want to expound on at the end. And I have that highlighted because you'll have to come up with what you want to talk about for the year. And then everything's updated on the Board of Ethics. All the statistics are updated on page 3. And then we always keep in the years past, so 4, 5 are good. And then on page 6, we need somebody to write up a summary of advisory opinion 2013-01. I think, Terry, you did that in the past.
Right.
Would you, can you email me, or did you already do that? In a Word form, this
Okay.
particular document? So that I can work on that, the narrative.
Okay,
Be nice to get this done before August.
yeah. And so,
And get it done in the year it's supposed to be done.
so of course, 9 through 12 is just what the report you had last year, and it's all grayed out. So
Right.
you'll,
I'll be able to see it and do it.
yeah.
Thank you. And I'm not doing this in a vacuum, gentlemen, so, I mean, I'll do my write-up of the annual report, and then we'll all review it, so that's, I'll hopefully have that done by this next meeting.
Well, did you want to decide what you wanted to have in your report?
Well, I think a couple things I was gonna suggest is, discussing 2013 and what our significant topics were. The significant topics were, we got through, and it's in front of the assembly now, the change in the gift disclosures for the teachers. The issue, special meetings that we've had, because, and part of it need to discuss, part of bringing it up, what did we decide? We had a total of 24 meetings this year, something like that. A meeting is supposed, and a board is supposed to meet once a month, because we had like 2 special meetings last week and several other special meetings, and discuss, kind of what the special meetings were about. And I'm open to suggestions as to a specific topic. We've kind of beat teacher gifts into the ground, in my opinion, in our annual reports. I know, I wrote it up a couple of years ago, and I haven't read or recall exactly what Dr. Kelly wrote. So we do have some new issues that have brought forth, and I'd like to, this year, I'd like to bring that, and then we can wordsmith that and remove terms like Kafkaesque, because people don't know what that means. Now, I literally had to ask him what that was.
And I Googled it.
I Wikipedia it.
I knew- Yeah, I think I did that actually.
So, but at any rate, but I'm open to suggestions, either verbally now or by email.
No, I think probably just to close it out, make a statement and close that subject out.
The teacher gifts, you mean?
In this report.
I hope, I'm hoping we've closed it out.
Well, we've submitted it to the assembly, and it's up to them. If they
It's
pass
on
it or
the
don't
calendar
pass
for the
it.
14th,
So,
the rewrite.
The
It's already
14th.
been submitted. We are AO 2014-1.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
So, just
oh,
close
So
it
number
out.
one,
whenever-
huh?
Number 1.
So
My
whenever
job is done.
the
Yes.
next meeting is the first or second week of January, I'm assuming?
14th.
Oh,
January 14th.
okay.
Any word on any chance that it would be approved? I mean, is it,
Oh, it's an ordinance, so it has to go to public hearing 2 weeks
Right.
later.
and so I mean, there's no.
You vetted it through every single
Yeah.
group, so,
Yeah.
So the
Everybody's
first
seen it,
read
so-
is on the 14th.
yeah, just introduction.
This is introduction, so there's
Doesn't mean
no
anything.
need for any of us to attend that
No.
meeting, but the public hearing.
It'll be 2 weeks later.
It was introduced, wasn't it?
No,
It will be.
it was
It
going
will
to be
14th.
introduced
I
like
was
the
thinking
first
it was
week of
introduced.
December, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Because I know it was on the schedule, but it didn't. Okay. So it'd be introduced, and then 2 weeks later, a public hearing, and then
Pass.
at the end of the public hearing, I don't think there'll be any,
I can't imagine the public's gonna.
no.
No, because
I
the
think-
parties that were, the parties that were concerned, that the teachers' union was heard, they were here
Yeah.
at the meetings, as well as we had meetings with the school district. And the concerns the school district had was timing. We changed the timing to accommodate them to June 30th.
We met with the assembly subcommittees.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it behooves us to have at least one member
Sure.
of this body at that,
At the December 14 meeting?
yeah. Well, at the public hearing.
Okay, well, I was planning on attending the public hearing. Yeah.
We don't have to be there for the introduction, but we should be there in case they have a question or whatever, then we can do that, so.
Okay, yes.
Let me get back to the couple paragraphs that you're going to draft to close out this document, is maybe give us all an internal deadline that if we have any suggestions within the next 10 days to send them to you. I have some ideas, and they would, now, do we need to get that back before the whole group, maybe at the next meeting, and then we finalize? I'd like to sort of emphasize the collaborative process we've had with the Assembly Ethics Elections Committee, and we've met with them 3, 4, 5 times this year and made presentations to the Assembly, presentations to the school board. So it's sort of a collaborative process, culminating in a gift rewrite that should eliminate 90% of the paperwork, and that it's not necessary, but focus on the main concern. So stuff like that. I don't know if we want to say something about this most recent issue. You spent quite a lot of time on some notice of potential violations, but now some of those are public. Well, I mean, I'm not sure how the one ended up, whether it was public or not. The one that, and I'd rather not say names at this point, but the one that in which I stepped off the board. I don't know if that ever got into a public format. I don't think it did, because you didn't find a violation.
Well, so yeah, obviously, whatever I write has to be vetted through, I don't want to violate
Yeah, but I mean,
anybody's
I think,
confidentiality by writing up the notice.
So I don't think but see, the board spent a lot of time on that, some comment that there were certain notices of potential violation that really took this board a tremendous amount
That
of
never
time.
saw the light of day.
Yeah, that, were finally resolved.
Well, in fact, majority of our notice of potential violations never see the light of day.
Right. I mean, so really the one, and then there's only been the one request for advisory. So maybe just that we all do that within 10 days, or forever hold your peace, and taking Ted's suggestion that it should be very short. If you want people to read it, it should be a paragraph, 2 paragraphs long.
Right. And as I understand, the timing on this is typically due by April of the following year. That's, and I'm remembering that from years ago. I think we got plenty of time to get this done, get it submitted.
Is that an internal deadline or?
I'm not sure, but let's just get it done.
That's fine. We'll get it done.
Sounds like we can get it done by
Got the
before
date
February.
already. Let's
All right.
do it.
That's right. And thank you, Lisa, for putting that together. That's kind of a skeleton, but it's really helpful.
We've kind of been drawing off the same document and just kind of amending as we go. So, okay, the other one, 7D, appointment document. I've asked to have this on. You brought this issue up at one point, and I've had issues with that in the last couple of weeks with members of the public and the reporting, and the Fourth Estate calling me because they found my phone numbers and where I work on the internet.
That's because I put it, no.
Yeah, no, Lisa did. So we discussed, and you had asked to have. I didn't look. Yours wasn't refused either, because we both were approved at the same time. I was for the renewal, and yours was the first time, so they
Right.
both still on there.
Yeah.
And I've asked to have a discussion about. You've got some. Apparently, you're prepared with some documentation. I've asked to have the discussion about recusing. I thought we had this before. But we apparently didn't come to a resolution, and we need to make sure that what we're doing is per code.
And I did some research, and that's why you have this chapter 4.05 here about appointment documents. There's nothing in there that says that the actual resume has to be a public document. And I spoke with Karen Bretz upstairs, and she said she was very happy to be diligent in the future to redact your information before it gets attached to the AM and submitted. And so what I have done, and I've made you copies of it, is gone online and redacted personal information that's there right now. Of course, it's out there now,
Right.
but, you know, going forward, it won't be there. And I just wanted you to take a look at them to see if I redacted everything that you want redacted. If there's something more than
Yeah,
just
'cause-
show it to me,
I mean,
that's on there.
as chair, if somebody contacts you and reads me, I appreciate that that the clerk's office may have to give my number out. And
Well,
I
no,
understand
I
that.
don't think they
I don't
have.
think we do.
Yeah.
You know,
No.
they can call you with the information and let you call that individual if you so desire.
Yes, that's the way I would handle it if I got the phone call, and I believe most everyone else in the office would do the same. But when these come around again, I'll remind Karen, she said she would be happy to take that personal information out. And, by the way, the one person that called you, she asked me to ask you, she was very, wanted very much to call him and let him know that his calling you was very inappropriate.
I didn't have a woman call me.
No, I didn't say a woman.
You said she.
Can we say who called?
I'd rather you didn't.
Okay.
Okay.
Because it wasn't appropriate, so.
She'd be happy to call him and let him know that it's not appropriate to call you at home, and she would like to do that. And I told her I would let her know today. So is that a yes?
Well, yes, because he, and I'll discuss that with you offline.
Okay.
This was the original appointment form for me. This is the original appointment form for me. I had to submit a new one when I renewed. So the one I reviewed most recently for myself, when I pulled up, showed where I currently work.
And can I say too, by the way, the individual that they're talking about is just someone who is persistent about calling of public officials and just because there's no complaint here, I didn't want to put his name on the record, but it's not an assembly member or the mayor or someone. It's someone who attends.
So I'll go over to you after the
Many
meeting
meetings.
and show you what. But the one that when I glanced at was the appointment of both Mr. Strom and myself last October. My renewal and his.
Mine was May.
Or
Actually.
okay, when I clicked on it,
Yeah.
I don't recall, but
Yeah.
both of them were there. So it was the
So your older memorandum will still be in the record,
right.
but I just did the latest one. But I can go back and do the old
Well,
one.
this
too.
one only shows the older one. That's the reason I'm bringing it up.
Okay, because I have 6/39/2012 as your latest. That wouldn't be right, would it? Yeah. What's your latest,
But this resume is way back to is prior to 2011, 2010.
Okay.
So it's okay. We'll get it worked out.
All right. And that's just what is currently online right now.
I mean, I appreciate that we serve the public here, but it's at some point now that I've experienced the
This is good.
I've experienced the calls, and I've had a few, and generally, at least the people have been polite. Although I was called down on, why didn't we go after Mayor Begich? We're like, well, geez, that was before my time. I really can't speak. I could have referred him to Dr. Kelly and given your phone number to Dr. Kelly. You were there.
Call the czar.
Yeah. And, because of some action. So
That's why I don't return phone calls.
you don't return them to me. So, great. There's no action for us to take on that, but I appreciate you pulling that together.
Yeah, no, thank you.
7E.
Now that AO was actually replaced by
I heard.
this one.
Gosh, these things have to be this long.
Yeah, actually the title is what gives public notice, and so they have to be all inclusive.
So this is the AM.
But just,
Then the
yeah,
AO.
just one set. Pass.
Do you have this?
Here's another set.
This is what you're looking at? What is the difference in these?
Well, they're two different numbers because they did
we get
change
one
the
more?
title.
Wait, one more,
Oh.
Lisa.
What else has changed? The
I
title?
haven't looked at it. I didn't
This
find
one
out about
included
There's-
a effective
Oh.
date this year, and
Oh,
included,
oh.
if you look at the title, it said, purchasing, acknowledgement including change in their own tender, so even
Oh.
without the date, this one in essence.
I see.
ultimately
Yeah.
was-
I think the AM
This is the scrubbed one.
is very different.
I think we're good.
Oh, we got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get one, Linda? Or just-
Yeah, she did.
So this is the,
This is the one that's introduced.
and it has been
It
introduced?
has been
Okay.
introduced. And there will be a public hearing on the 14th, but it's actually referred to the Elections and Ethics Committee. Assembly
Right, which is
Committee.
meeting tomorrow, right? Is this on their agenda for tomorrow?
You know what? I didn't get the date before. I saw it on my desk. Do you want me to go check the date and time for that?
You don't have to
Please.
right now, but
No.
Okay.
just before I leave, I'd like to
Okay.
know if they're gonna be tomorrow.
What's the difference between the two?
The date's gone. See how this 2014.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
But I'm
This is what we're
surprised
talking
that
about.
this one
They're
is
amending the
not,
code and
157S.
changing the time for the.
Well, they're two different ones because there is a title. 154 was never even introduced.
Oh, it wasn't. The
No.
one that's in the
No.
book wasn't introduced.
Right.
No,
No.
They withdrew it.
they withdrew
changed
it.
before it was introduced.
Right.
Okay. So there's no F.
And
So
so
we
this
can
one-
pull the one that's in the book out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's doesn't.
So I think that'd be.
Okay.
pull
And then
that out.
157 was laid on the table last night.
And if I have any issue with this, is, the beginning of the title, it talks about it amends the ethics code. Is that something that has to happen for them to do the work?
I mean, there's the debate. In my legal opinion, they do.
Okay.
What the laid on the table item is attempting to do is say that sponsorship is not an official action.
Right, which is contrary to our.
Well, we were sort of stuck with, can the city define sponsorship, official action to not include sponsorship? So that's the first thing it does. And the idea behind that was so they could so a measure could be sponsored and be open to public debate. And then the second problem was in the first rendition they had the effective date, so they took that out. But then what do you do when the effective date starts being discussed? I mean, at some point it's imminent that a discussion has to take place. And so I think if you read the AM, and by the way, I did not draft this. This AM actually was drafted by Dennis Wheeler. If you look at the AM, this is really the most telling document in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. And they acknowledge the catch-22 that if nobody can vote on the disclosure, ethical disclosure, what do you do? And so there is somewhere else, I thought, here. Let me walk you. I would say read the AM, but if you'll see, I can bring you to the AO and the amendments to the ethics code. Is what they did is if you look at page 2 of the AO, I can show you the 3 what they're doing. Section 1B1, for purposes of this chapter, introduction or sponsorship of an ordinance or resolution is not participation in an official action. So then the whole substantial financial analysis doesn't apply at that level. So someone can sponsor something and get it to the assembly, and then the assembly would make those decisions. We were really stuck with trying to figure out what official action was. Here they're saying, hey, we the municipality can define that assembly. So then it gets there. If the elected body rules that a member may not participate in a matter, then they have to withdraw their sponsorship. I'm not quite sure how that works.
Meaning they sponsor it, and then they no longer sponsor it.
Yeah, because
Once
then
it's
they've
been
got to add
determined that
somebody.
they can sponsor it.
Right. So, but then this
But
is.
it's not an official
That's
action,
not
so
official
why should it
action.
matter?
That's right.
But this is D. But then look at section D here, the underlying section. This is the catch-22 section. When a financial or private interest is held in common by members of the elected body, i.e. extension of terms, and is attributable to the duties, obligations, and benefits of the office as determined by the body, each member may participate in the determination of whether the interest of every other member is substantial.
On 79
Yeah,
years
but-
still in
Right.
Look at 7 too, right? Look under 7.
Uh-huh.
And it says that the elected body rules that the member may not participate, then it shall immediately withdraw their sponsorship.
Okay, but that's just the sponsorship. D has to do with all the rest, the deliberation, voting, the whole
No, but I
disclosure.
mean, that, number one, it says you can sponsor it,
Right.
but if it affects you, you have to withdraw your sponsorship.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure the purpose.
You know,
Isn't that kind of
That's just saying
counterproductive?
that,
Yeah, one place you says you can do it, the other says you have to
Yeah,
withdraw.
it does seem that. But then D is the business about when everybody has an interest. And what they were thinking here is not only this situation where the terms could be extended for everybody, but for instance, when they're ruling on a property tax, that affects everybody. When they're ruling on,
But that's a large class of people.
That's right.
These are bad examples, Dave. I mean,
Yeah.
the tax and levies is a large class of people, and having spouses in ASD is speculative, right? Just approving
well,
the
that one
budget.
is. I was thinking of the, what is it called, the redistricting. That could be and all of them participated in that, and it affects their own districts. I'm not saying yay or nay. I'm just pointing out what they're attempting to do
and
here.
I'm not right. I'm just in the memo. I don't think the counter examples offered in the memo are good counter
They're not.
examples. I think in
They're
the
not.
two that are
Oh, I
offered,
see that are actually in the AM.
right in the AM. The two that are offered as problematic counter examples.
Go ahead, Mike.
In
You don't
both those
think
cases,
there
we would not rule it as a substantial.
That's right.
Financial.
and the
interest.
redistricting. I mean,
I think redistricting too.
I agree.
It's a speculative. It's a speculative.
Well, no, but
connection.
you had one, especially in the last go around, one assembly member who was arguing about that it absolutely affected her,
mhm.
and that was just allowed. It was never even thought of because redistricting is a duty of an assembly person, so and representing your constituents and.
Well, that's right. I mean, I understand it, and I like the common law duty type idea. I mean, because you could imagine, like Ted was talking about, you could imagine like after the '64 earthquake, the assembly having to make decisions in which they all might have a substantial interest, but the timeliness of the issue is such that it's an emergency. It's a things. The duties of the government cannot be completely set aside. I mean, I have problems with the body determining that for itself, obviously. I think that's sort of why we're here. So in other words, we're all conflicted, and we can all set the conflict aside if we determine for ourselves that it's about the duties, obligations, and benefits, whatever that might mean, of the office of.
Was that is that the duties off? Is that to discuss the private? We have the financial and then the private interest. Is that second part supposed to be the private interest?
It would be either financial or private. So in other
Yeah.
words, what it's saying is, as you're going through the criteria, is this a substantial conflict? The catch-22 that they're trying to address is, which we pointed out, is that if they all have the same conflict, what the code normally does for like any individual assembly person, just says it's ultimately up to the assembly to figure that out. And that's what the code says, and that's fine. In this particular case, they all have the same conflict, and so if one of them, before we had this discussion, let's say Mr. Birch has to say, I have this particular conflict because it would extend my term. Okay, well, let's talk about whether that conflict is substantial or not. Oh, well, wait a minute. Before Mr. Trainee can talk about that, he must disclose that he basically has the exact same conflict. And so he may be conflicted even in taking official action on Mr. Birch's conflict. Oh, well, L.B. Gray, she's got to say the exact same thing. And you sort of have an infinite regress of disclosures that would have to be made before anyone could take any kind of official.
And the proposal here is to say that, we can just brush that aside for purposes of this.
Yeah, I would suggest the paradox is not a problem. The paradox only gets raised when you are doing things that are so unethical from the standpoint of clean governance. That you're doing things that are so unethical that you just simply can't.
They're trying to alleviate the
ethically.
checks and balances in
That's
the
right.
system.
But in this particular case, I think when you're looking at it, if we would all agree that, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but you brought up the issue, well, what if we change the date? And that's why this new ordinance has no date.
Right.
Right.
So that none of the sitting members, it would be to change the date of the election, and this is not for us to decide, but the day of the election was past anybody's current term, then would everybody else would their conflict be gone?
the conflict by and large would be gone. And so,
Right.
to be perfectly frank about it, changing the code in these ways for this particular issue is only necessary if you are determined to make the election change for 2014.
In violation of the code.
Oh, the
Well,
current
I mean,
code.
whatever you're
current
changing,
code.
if
That's right. I mean,
you're-
if you're satisfied with our opinion that one
That's right.
ethically should wait and have the effective date be 3 or so years down the line, the code doesn't need to be changed at all. And I have yet to see a kind of counterexample
That's right.
that shows me that this is going to be a common and difficult problem.
That's
in which
right.
the assembly has a common conflict of interest. It's the first time we've seen it, and I just don't think this is. I think this is a solution in search of a problem, and what it really is an effort to create a loophole in the code so that the election date can be changed for 2014. If you were content to allow the effective date to be 3 years from now, you don't need to change the code, because our opinion only addressed changing the code that would extend the current terms of the sitting assembly persons.
Well, then, may I ask, what about redistricting? Or what about when candidates for, in the last contested election, continue to sit there and be involved in the certification process, which I think one of you had brought up, that there, maybe taxes is not a good example because that does belong to a larger group. But if it was just a service area and the assembly member was a member of that service area, that's probably still a large enough group.
Well, but I would argue too with that though, Dee, that they all wouldn't have a conflict. It would just be that one person.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So I agree with Terry that I can't think of another like issue or instance where they would all have this kind of.
I can't think of at least I can't think of a case where your intuitions would say, oh, the assembly should be allowed to do that.
Right.
I could imagine a redistricting ordinance in which the districts have been so completely gerrymandered that every assembly person has been obviously created a district that's going to guarantee their reelection.
Right.
But again, it's not clear assembly should be allowed to do that ethically.
Well, but
If it's a matter of redistricting, yes, there's a potential conflict of interest. But again, one of the criteria that we use is the conflict, is the interest direct, or is it speculative? And it seems to me in most of these cases, there's going to be at least some speculation that if you've drawn the district in this particular way, are you benefiting yourself or not? Are you promoting your interest or not? Well, you still have to run for election. There's still a decisive contingent event that needs to occur for you to benefit. That's very different, it seems to me, from just simply legally by fiat extending your own term in office by 9 months.
The redistrict issue that I have not, maybe this has come up and I don't recall. But if the lines are drawn and a minority member of the assembly is just flat aced out because his or her house happens to be put into another district and directly, has that happened where somebody's put in another district, if you're aware, that puts them in, well, like what happened in the state senate or the state house, where two people who have served side by side in the house all of a sudden have to run against each other.
Right.
That happens all the time.
Does it happen in the
It's
assembly?
happening right now, like that.
Yeah, it's happening right now.
Anna Fairclough and Fred Dyson have to run against each other.
But has that happened in the assembly? Are you familiar?
You know, I'm not familiar enough with the last go-around of what happened. But maybe what I can relay on, and everybody can listen to the discussion here, is that the ethics board certainly doesn't find these particular examples convincing for these reasons, and convey that on rather.
I'm not sure, and I don't know if we can address the AO, but I'm not sure I agree with how some of these are worded either.
Well, I didn't agree with the ethics board.
I mean,
intervened. And
well, we opined that no current assembly member can introduce or deliberate and vote on changing the election date because doing so. I don't think we didn't say that in total. We just said that there was an issue with, my view is they can. I would argue they can introduce it
Strictly
and
speaking, that
deliberate.
claim is false.
Yeah,
strictly
but
speaking.
it was related to the date.
We said they can't introduce an ordinance changing the election date.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
2014,
Right.
maybe 2015, because it would extend
Right.
their own terms. But does that? We did not in any way say that
They
there's
think-
no way they could
That's
change
right.
the
Right.
date.
No.
In fact, we said
In
quite
fact,
the
we
opposite.
said-
Yeah.
Instead of because, it should say when that
If.
action would.
Yeah, but anyway,
Yeah,
I know these are written in a way to,
Yeah, but you read right
Yeah.
down in number 1 and then in number 7. I mean, number 1 says that it is not, if you introduce it, it's not considered participation. But then you go down to 7, and it says if you can't participate,
Right.
you have to withdraw the sponsorship.
Yeah.
I mean, it.
So there's just a conflict built into the ordinance that
Yeah.
needs to be addressed.
I
Well,
mean,
at any rate, and there's also, and Keith and I talked about it, there is a process concern that I think, that Keith and I certainly have, that I don't think we've, certainly since I've been on the board, we've never changed the ethics code this way, in which the assembly, without any consultation with the ethics board, without any sort of public process, just simply introduces a series of, I would say, fairly important changes to the ethics code.
I wouldn't say fairly, I'd say very important changes.
Substantive changes to the city charter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
completely,
yeah.
completely changes.
So I've got some process concerns.
If the city charter change, doesn't that have to go in front of the voters?
That's-
Well, I don't see this as a charter change myself.
Okay.
so, or I guess, maybe to help me understand this better, are we being asked to review this, or?
I was
Yeah,
just-
what-
have
yeah,
we?
what-
I'm not
what's
sure
the-
why this is here.
Yeah,
Is this just for fun?
yeah, just,
Yeah, why?
just for us to opine,
We
maybe?
should, we should all be, there will be public hearings on this. I'm certainly planning
Yes.
on going to those, and,
Yeah.
and
Well,
we might
and-
want to talk as a board if we wish to write up a statement, about at least about the ordinance and maybe about the memorandum and some of the arguments being made. So I would say that's why it's a timely issue.
That could fall under educational.
Well,
Well-
the thing is, the way it's written here, and if this passes, it's gonna affect this
I
whole
know.
board.
Yeah, I know.
Well, then,
Sure, yeah.
yeah, and how can we rule on it? We can't rule on it, on that.
Well, can I tell you the last thing it does? Just to give you some more to is if you look on page 3 of the ordinance, it adds, yeah, AO. It adds as one of the factors in concerning substantial financial interest, number 6, whether in the totality the public benefit exceeds the financial or private interest. That was that weighing of the public versus the private, and this is for the assembly to decide, but that's the last major change it does. Or proposes to do.
And then potentially to get us past our problems with the five.
No, this
questions
is
that we
if,
went through, yeah.
if voting is a high enough public interest that the assembly can say, that's more important than,
There are a lot of problems with this. There are a lot of problems. Not only with its characterization of this board's review, but also the characterization of I'm just looking at the very last paragraph of the AM. It's moved it twice in '89 and again in '99, and this is very misleading.
When they had the original, when they had the debate and the public testimony on the original one, moving it from October
Right.
to April, one of the main things was because an elected official in October did not have time to review the budget that had to be passed in November.
Right.
And so this was going to help them have that budget. The budget comes out in August, so that gives them all that time. Well, newly elected, but they haven't, that should be, I mean, they don't even mention that now.
I mean, the reasons for bringing it to April aren't mentioned in its
Right.
reasons.
Right.
They neglected that, trying to move it back.
When does the budget be approved by?
December 7th, I think.
Okay, so as I understand the current one here, as I recall, they want to have the election in November, but have the members seated in January. So that the current members who've been working, you'd have 3 months of lame, or 2 months of lame duck
Yeah.
session.
which is
Uh,
not healthy for any organization.
Well, but I understand.
Especially passing a budget.
But that's, I
Right,
believe
yeah.
that when they were trying to address that, you would have
Yeah.
people that at least knew the issues and were there. You wouldn't have to get up to speed.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to speak for or against, I'm just, that was the time in which they would become, I think it's in here, because typically doesn't it, right now, they're voted in and they're sworn in the next week, assuming that the clerk has certified
Certification.
the election.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
I think it's quick, yeah.
Yeah.
It takes very long.
So the couple month delay, I think, would take care of the budget issue. But I agree that, that may have been the time. The other concern that I read when I read that was that they were concerned about competing with other entities who are running for other office.
As far as airtime,
Airtime and
television,
newspaper,
radio.
yeah. That,
No, but it says here, elected officials shall assume office immediately.
Okay, that's a change from,
Immediately, except for the mayor, who will take office on January 1.
I'm remembering something different.
What's it?
Yeah.
Well,
I understand.
you are remembering correctly. It was that they would,
There was gonna be a couple month delay.
yeah, and it,
Right.
But
Yeah.
not according to this.
yeah. I think where's the original? Where's the original? Right.
The question I have is what, if any, action?
No,
should the
actually, it
board
says it here, too.
take? I mean, do we have? Is there something that we want to weigh in on this?
Yeah,
There's nothing that's been presented to
It's the
us.
same thing,
Is that
actually.
right?
Right, no, yeah.
There's no complaint.
I don't
There's no
say I'll
complaint,
assume
there's no
office.
request for advisory thing. Is there something, assuming that we haven't been asked to do anything, is there something that we want to do? I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
Well, my only complaint,
I'd like
my
Mr.
biggest
Kelly would like
complaint,
to
and
do
I
something.
think we can address that when you testify, is that if they pass this like it is, it's definitely gonna affect this body.
Yeah.
And it's gonna put us in a no-win situation, because it's legal in one spot and it's not legal in the other, and it's so,
Well, does that get into the question then of whether the proposed changes are ethical? Because so far what we've been doing is following the code, assuming that the code is ethically correct. What if the code's changed in a way
It's not ethical.
that we can't follow it in good conscience because it's not ethical?
Yes,
I mean, I don't know.
Go ahead, Dee.
This debate's going to be taken up with the Election and Ethics Committee. So they've postponed, I mean, they've referred this over. Plus, weren't there two other ordinances addressing the election date as well? I think there were, so there's all three of them are going over to the, and so it might be whether a member of the election board, not election board, excuse me, ethics board wants, or more than one member wants to go to participate at that, in that forum.
Is that tomorrow, or we don't know?
This is Amanda Moser. She's our deputy in charge of elections, and she does have something she'd like to.
I apologize for interrupting. I just got off the phone with Assemblymember Trombley, and he is requesting that the Board of Ethics review and have an opinion on Chris's ordinance
What
before
we're discussing right now.
before January 6th,
Oh.
which is when the Ethics and Election Committee meeting.
More special meetings over Christmas?
Yeah.
I apologize.
January
No,
6th.
you're just the messenger.
Yes.
No, you're the messenger.
You're perfect timing too. so.
Dad.
We were just talking about whether we were asked to do anything on this.
So
Okay.
and
I guess we have been.
and see that you guys have. Okay, good. I brought copies in case if you
No,
didn't
We have them.
No, Lisa gave us the new
Yeah.
copies, I think,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
And that you have copies of the AO and AM, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, we have those.
Okay.
So the meeting tomorrow, will this be on that
Didn't sound
topic
like
of
it.
that meeting?
What meeting?
Oh,
No, they said.
No,
is
sounds
there an
like
ethics and
January.
elections committee
Ethics
meeting?
and Elections Committee meeting is not until January 6th.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So you have
A few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
a few weeks.
A few
during
weeks
the
that
holidays.
are otherwise.
Of course, I
Hey,
call it
finals
special
reserved.
meeting.
I've
got
plenty of time.
Oh.
You don't have to grade anything, do you?
Keith, I mean, there's no way we can.
We can't finish this today.
Oh, no.
But at the same
So
time.
we're gonna, and to do it before the 5th,
Sixth.
Well-
Oh yeah. Well, you have to do
whatever,
that.
we're gonna have to call a special meeting.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah, well,
Let's see, next Wednesday is
I mean,
Christmas.
look at the money we're making on these only meetings.
I'm telling you, these sandwiches though
I know.
are really good.
They are. They're very messy, which makes them
I'm
really
eating
good.
more and more each lunch
Yeah.
than you might be.
Okay, well, let's, when we get down to at the end, we'll
Okay.
determine when we can meet again,
Okay.
because we're gonna have to, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and
Is,
I,
it,
No, I don't think
is
so.
Mr. Trombley going to submit something in writing to us, or is this the word?
I can prepare something if you would like something in writing.
Um,
He just has directed me over
Sure.
the phone. so
I
I'd be
appreciate
happy-
the heads up,
Yeah.
especially before the meeting ended, because
Yeah.
obviously this gives us time to schedule a special meeting. But I wonder if there's some way of getting. I would feel more comfortable if something were in writing, simply because then we would be able to answer it specifically,
Yeah.
as
Okay.
opposed to, "Hey, look at this.
Yeah.
What do you think?"
Right.
Right. That's a little broad, and I don't know if I'm out of line. I don't mean to be out of line by asking him for something in specific, but it's his question whether is this ethical, or is
Yeah.
it? Is there a specific provision, or is there something that we can?
Yeah.
I would feel more comfortable with that.
What are his questions?
Right. I mean, what does he want to know?
Yeah.
And I think that.
What do you think?
Right. I mean, I know that's what's going to come back to
Well,
us.
we don't
right?
want to
But-
opine.
But like, for example, when we had the request for ethics opinion, it was from the clerk's office. There were specific questions that we were asked to respond to. I think
Yeah.
that's the role that I'm most comfortable in on this board.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I can ask him those questions.
Okay,
And have him.
we can still schedule our special meeting, waiting for an email from
Yeah.
all that other information.
Pending his.
Otherwise, I feel like we're gonna get dragged into the politics of this, and that's
Right.
not our.
Yeah, no,
I
and
feel like
I-
that's not our position.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And I know you're the messenger. I'm not.
Well, she used to serve as our staff. She's very familiar with what happened.
Maybe I can share with him how the clerk's office requested the original opinion on the other issue, and he can go from there.
Yeah.
And use
I mean,
that as
how do you
like
guys feel about that?
No, I
that's
think
fine.
we need to have a focus for our special
Yes.
meeting.
Right.
Otherwise, they drag on and on and on,
Right.
and you know.
Well, but can I say, on the other side of that is, you've already identified 4 or 5 concerns.
Yeah.
You could say
Right.
our concerns are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Mhm.
and not be forced into, remember, we had a lot of,
That's where
yeah.
I'd rather
it's-
do it that way, to be honest. I just look.
You want that
You know
What are your
more than any,
concerns?
not more than anyone else, but I've always been considered this board should be nonpartisan. It should try to stay clear of the politics as much as it can. But we are the ethics board. We just cannot be a responsible ethics board and say nothing about an ordinance that's going to substantially change the ethics code. It's just inconsistent with our
Well, but I
educational. It's just inconsistent with who we are. I don't think we should. I think we should do it, under the auspices of our educational mission. If we ask Mr. Trombley to do it, and we want it to be done like officially that way, strictly speaking, Mr. Trombley can only ask us for an advisory opinion, namely, what should he do? How should he act in light of the existing code?
Well,
We
and that's,
could ask the clerk's
Well-
office, we could ask Barbara to come back, or Dee to come back and ask, again, for like a systemic thing, and to do it that way. But again, yeah, that places us answering specific questions put to us by other people about elements of the code that don't exist yet. I
Well-
think we're better off sort of taking the initiative ourselves and saying, here's a proposed code, because we're not addressing the various, the date change thing. Should it be April? Should it be
No.
October? That is just a straightforward political issue. Should this ethics code be changed in this kind of way? Well, that's our area of expertise, and I think we should make some sort of what we consider to be authoritative statement from our point of view about what we think of this particular proposal.
And I'm okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Linda.
I was just wondering, did he couch this in terms of asking for an advisory
Right.
opinion or making a complaint? Because those are usually the two avenues by which the board.
And it's simply, I mean, I'm okay with open-ended, but
Yeah.
because I know that, I'm guessing, but it's possible that one or more members of the board would have been perfectly happy doing an educational piece, regardless of whether we received a
Yeah.
question. I am more comfortable having received a question and then responding to it than taking the affirmative action of just unsolicited giving an opinion. I don't mean to suggest that we should have 4 very specific questions. That's not what I'm suggesting. I just want a request.
So,
But-
Yeah, a request for almost an advisory.
That's fine,
What
and
are
that's
the board's
fine.
concerns with the AO 2013-154
Right.
as written?
so
But he-
his
But
direct.
But you want to just do it on your own.
Technically, but
I know.
but that can't work. All Trombley could ask you is, what should he do under the existing code?
Because it's an advisory.
It's an advisory
Well,
opinion. We
but
could
then-
not, we
Yeah,
could
but-
not
but
actually
he's a
tell him
member of
under
the
the
ethics.
existing code
But-
what he should do about this proposed change to the code.
But the last request that we had for an advisory opinion included some very specific questions and issues that, Dee, I think you tried to keep us on track at our meeting when we kind of migrated off into an area that didn't really address what we were being
Yeah, I
asked to
know.
look at.
Amanda, go ahead, Amanda.
I went to Catholic school. Requesting, so he directed me that he's requesting the Board of Ethics review and opinion. So I think it is very broad as it is right now, and we can
Okay.
get this request in writing. I guess my question is, do you want it more narrow and focused, and I can ask him that. But this
No,
seems to address Mr. Kelly's desires to have a stronger review and more area to.
I agree with, my only point is this, I agree with Mr. Kelly that I would prefer to have an open-ended because then we can answer it however we want to. Now, of
Yeah.
course, as an attorney, we always have questions that we answer any way we want to anyway, right? I mean, we're not bound by the questions to answer and provide information that we want to provide.
Yeah.
That's never gotten in my way before. But all I'm saying is, my preference as a member of this board is to respond to something, which is what's happening, rather than to unsolicited give an opinion to somebody about what we think about this. That's
and I should
that's
say
my point.
part of the subtext here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay.
And I think it's more
You started
powerful.
speaking as my hand went up, so.
Part of the subtext here is that when we had the issue involving the mayor's father's insurance policy, there was a lot of people in the assembly saying, the Board of Ethics should review this, they should take a look at it. And we actually made a pretty strong statement to the assembly, it doesn't work that way. You don't just sort of refer things to us that way. If
Right.
you have a complaint, you file a complaint.
Right.
If you want advice, you ask for advice.
Like, we couldn't do
But-
anything on that one until the mayor asked.
Well, at
us
least
on
we
advisory
chose
opinion.
not. That's the thing.
Right.
At least in that sense. And we told the assembly you can't just simply refer things to us
Right.
in that sort of way. The code lays out the ways that we work. Either we're acting educationally, or we're answering advisory opinions
Yes,
or
Linda.
complaints.
Which is
Well,
why. I'm
what
sorry.
I was gonna say is just looking at the duties and powers of the board under the code and under Part B advice, the education chapter that or section you're talking about, prepare materials and programs designed to advise, assist, educate, and coach,
Mhm.
which is an interesting choice of words. Municipal employees, appointed members of a municipal authority, and elected officials on ways to support compliance with provisions of this chapter and assist the public in understanding the policy and purpose of this chapter. And so that sort of coaching, public education, policy behind ethics, that is so broad and perhaps even vaguely worded.
That's our. We've talked about
That's
that
right. And
extensively.
Julie has emphasized that that was
education.
put in there precisely
Absolutely.
to authorize and empower this board to precisely do these
That's right.
kinds of things.
I have no problem with that. I just think it's a more powerful avenue. That
If we have, like, an
responding-
official request from the
exactly,
elections,
as opposed to
board.
because what's
Okay.
happening is basically this in many ways this is like a power grab. They're saying, I just very briefly read this, but it looks like the claim in here is that we have taken power from the assembly that they want to take back. I don't want to get in the middle of that. I mean, that is not what we're trying to do, and that's not. And if we start soliciting information, that I feel like we're engaging in that debate.
Yeah.
Now I don't want to go there.
No. But if you read this first sentence, an ordinance of the Akron Municipal Assembly amending the ethics code.
Right.
Now, by God, we should be involved in
I
that.
and this
agree.
this is our hook.
And Dr. Kelly and I had a discussion about that
Yeah.
yesterday, the day before.
Just did
Yeah.
that for yesterday.
That, yeah.
So
So maybe
anyway,
Mr.
I think
Trump
we
could
should honor
could
that.
maybe even just shoot an email to Keith
Okay.
or just
Just
something like
something.
saying the
Yeah.
elections board officially asks the board of ethics to weigh in on this.
Well, actually, it's a
board-
committee of the
this committee,
assembly,
yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah.
But just some sort of request, and then that way we can
Weigh in. See, weigh in. I feel like we're going into a
Coach.
prize fight.
Well, using
Yeah.
the term coach.
Coach,
Yeah, that's right.
advisor.
How about
That re-
yeah,
To review and
have
comment
review and
on the
evaluate,
proposed
or-
ethics rewrite.
That's right.
It's an
Make any
ethics code rewrite.
recommendations.
That's right.
So review and comment, is that what?
Yeah, review
Yes.
and comment.
We're
on
actually
the-
going
on
to
the-
draft the
And-
question for him.
That's right.
He can then send it
Yeah.
to
On the-
online.
on the proposed- can I say, Amanda, on the opposed ethics
Yes.
code rewrite, because
That's
there's
right.
our area of expertise.
That's right.
Not the political stuff that's part of the AOAM.
Yeah.
Because it's an ethics code rewrite, obviously the board should have an opinion on that.
And maybe if you can
Yes.
include the term "coach us up"
Yeah.
in that would be.
You like-
We can.
Go team.
If we could design some drills and
Right.
technique drills.
Okay.
I will work on this end, and then I'll
Good.
just get with Lisa and let him know when you
Very
schedule
good.
the meeting for.
Very good. I appreciate it. Thank you, Amanda.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Well,
Amanda.
I
thanks.
think we should
Amanda.
do it on Christmas Eve.
I was gonna say,
So I'm
Yes.
I'm off at noon that day.
and Dave, I was gonna say, I really
We
do
can have it
appreciate
then, and I'll call in.
that we shouldn't just be opining. When I saw this on our thing, I said, what are we doing?
Right, right.
That I would much rather have an official request.
Yeah.
And it is an ethics code rewrite with which this body should
Because in
comment.
some ways, I look at us as a kind of a, maybe this isn't appropriate, but kind of a quasi judicial board where we're above the tit for tat. You know, that's not our role. Is to kind of tit for tat with the. This is different because this is kind of a power assembly
Ethics
thing,
should
but
not be part of
but
this.
we're not. Yeah, I don't want to get involved in a debate. They're asking us for an opinion on an area where we are the experts,
Right.
according to this is what we do. That's the role we should have, which is in some ways kind of above that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get involved in the
No.
debate of the merits of the ordinance. That's not the issue.
No, otherwise we're accused of
Well,
opining.
I know.
For somebody, I mean, given
No,
that
That's my favorite
those
word now.
changes to
Which
the
one?
ordinance,
Opine.
we
To
can't
the
help.
code. Or code, right. Yeah, I know.
Then we,
No, I
to some
agree.
degree, we can't help but.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay,
take
well,
on the
Like that,
substance.
yeah.
I just want to be aware of it. I want to be
But again, I want us to be
sensitive.
nonpartisan. Yeah, we've
That's
been
right.
nonpartisan. We've always been, even through some very heated, controversial issues, we've managed to be nonpartisan. I think that's very important for this board. That it is true. We are there ultimately to offer advice and to help people through the code, not to be one political player amongst others.
That's right.
It's just that
That's right.
this is such a unique. Again, this
Yeah.
I've been around for a while on this board, and this is novel for me to see the code. A sort of effort made to change the code in such a top-down way rather than bottom-up. All our ethics code changes so
Right.
far have been
from us to them.
us
Right.
working with Julia,
That's
working
right.
with Dee, working with the
Working with the
assembly, and
assembly.
slowly, or the school board, and slowly working our way up. Usually in the space of years, not weeks,
Mhm.
working our way up and changing our codes. It's such
Right.
a unique situation, but I think you're right. We should try
I
to
think
stay
I-
above the fray as much as we
And
can.
on the substantive level, I think we're really, I think we're probably on the same plane. I want to make sure that the way it's delivered and the message and the method of the procedure is just a certain way, that's all.
Okay. How about people's calendars? What are
Yeah,
people
let's
looking
do
at
that.
in terms of when they're available?
Is our advisory opinion in here that we sent back? Is it in here
It is.
anywhere?
Yes.
Where's it at?
It was in a paperclip portion, I think.
I think it was attached in this very section.
This one here?
Behind
This
the-
looked like from 2011.
Okay, yeah, no, I think, here, where are you at?
I'm in front of 8A.
Yeah, no, I saw it, I thought.
Well,
7E.
Meeting on Wednesday is problematical for the next 2 weeks.
No.
Where did I put? I know I stuck it in
Yeah, I
there.
saw it in there.
Well, I have this, but that's the old one from 2011.
No, I know, I saw it too.
And I think you emailed it, but
Isn't it this right before Barbara Jones' questions and right after the news article and the paperclip portion?
I saw it.
It's right. It's 8D.
8D.
No. Sorry. Don't go there. Wrong. Maybe it's not, but I have it right here.
there's the email.
You want to look at it?
Well, if I could avoid it, I'd like to
focus
avoid
on
Mondays because that's a busy day.
Yeah, should we
It's not in there.
I know it sounds
Here's
ridiculous.
a
Should we
copy
do?
if you want to look at
Should we
it.
do next Wednesday after we get done opening?
Yeah, I think so.
Should this one here?
Pop on over.
Yeah,
But you
right.
sent it to us.
Oh,
I'll just tell my
I put it in-
granddaughter I
it's right
can't
in
come
this
see her.
section.
I know, I saw
That's
it.
right where we're at. Okay, so
No, I can do
8
Tuesday morning.
or 7, we're 7E. If you go past all of the new stuff, if you had any paperwork left over from that meeting, I stuck it in.
I have this, but it's not.
What are we looking at?
We're looking for the opinion that we wrote,
Yeah.
that I saw.
Dated December 9th. I don't see it.
The advisory opinion?
Yeah.
Or the,
So some of you had it, stuff left over, and you did, Steve. You had a big old
Yeah, I don't see
paper
it.
clip thing.
This is
I
all
do
had
too, but
this
this
is all I
is-
had that was paperclip.
This is just,
Oh.
yeah, I have
No,
the same
this.
thing.
No, sorry. never
Yeah.
mind.
Well, that was all that
if-
was paperclipped in.
That
So-
would be something if
Is
you
this
put
your
on your
type?
check, just to email
No,
that
it's-
particular thing to us.
Lisa.
Okay, I will. I'll email the opinion.
Or is it online already?
did he?
No, it's not.
Okay.
This 2013 Ford get out?
Mm-hmm.
It's out the door? Okay.
Yeah, if you could email it,
Yeah, I signed it.
Lisa, I'd appreciate it.
Yes,
Okay.
in fact, we've asked them to respond by the 30th. Well, we
Good.
went to Ernie. Now, you know, under the
supposed to have a
I'm
ethics.
sorry, I didn't mean to
About that.
divert us. I just,
Yeah.
I just came across this and I
Well,
want.
what's sort of interesting, I need to think about that, is that we send it to, it gets sent to 4 people that Lisa outlined, the mayor,
Oh.
but it included the mayor and Ernie. And what's interesting is we asked Ernie to figure out what he wanted to do. I think we mentioned something about referring it to the Ethics and Elections Board. But then I also got to thinking, it's to the jurisdiction that sort of has control over, I think, the players and the issues. And it's sort of interesting because doesn't the mayor really have control? I mean, he got a copy of this, but there was no request for action from him. Because doesn't he have control over terminating the contract? And it's a sort of a unique situation where that the board has taken very certain action, and I don't know whether we should be requesting sort of the same response from the mayor. We'd like you to look at this and respond to us by a certain date, because the mayor, the administration, has the ability to terminate the contract. I'm not even sure the assembly could so order. I mean, and who the removal. I'm not sure. So I need to think that through. But it did go out. The mayor did get it. Ernie did get it.
Well, they haven't gotten it yet.
Oh, okay.
Because the last minute changes came in and I had to get new
okay.
signed documents, so that's
Okay.
what.
Oh, really?
Okay.
More signed.
Then they're all going to go
Okay.
out there.
Oh, is that it
Okay,
right there?
that's it.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, I may add, Keith may suggest that we add a letter to the mayor as well, saying
Sure.
this has been referred over to the assembly and to you as under this code section,
Yeah, draft up pretty quick.
because then he
Do
can
you
write me a
have any
letter
problem
back and
with
say, what do I do?
Did scan signature come back, the one that we did, that work okay for you?
Yeah, it did, but I actually brought the original document. I'm going to have you sign it today.
All right. Well, we knew that. We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're picking a new date?
We're still picking a date for our extra meeting, our 25th meeting of the year.
I would say, how about the morning of I know this sounds strange, but Tuesday, the 24th morning?
I would really ask not to do
That's
that.
fine.
I wonder
That's
if we can exclude the Tuesday, the day before and
Sure.
after Christmas.
No, that's fine.
So it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so it almost have to be, to me, I'd prefer the following Friday.
Friday?
No.
Or, say everybody wants 2-day
27th.
weekends?
Is that when you're saying the
I'm going to be at
27th?
Alyeska. Sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm
I could do like the 30th.
How about this coming Monday?
Yeah,
I think
Well,
I'm full.
Monday can be difficult for me this time of the
Yeah.
year. However, I did ask not to do a Monday, but
What about the 30th? I don't even know what day that is, but
It's a Monday.
That's the
university,
next Monday?
university's closed. I don't have any. I know I have no meetings, and I'll be back from Alyeska by then.
But
Would
Mike-
the 30th give enough time before the 6th to really assemble the opinion, or do we need to meet possibly even twice?
I can meet for several hours.
How set is the January 6th date?
Oh, pretty set, because everything, they've put everything on
Yeah.
hold.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess my suggestion too is that all the members can go through this and write out their concerns in paragraphs, not in an opinion-like fashion, but you have this concern and put a paragraph to it and we all do some
I could bring the
homework.
computer and we could.
Keith,
Could you,
Hammer it out.
could
You
you
know, I
meet on
could
the
do the
23rd?
30th. Yeah, I could do Monday the 30th.
I think I'd rather just yeah.
But I have,
go ahead. I can meet on the 23rd or the 30th, whichever you guys determine.
I would prefer the
The
30th.
30th is better for me.
I
So
got
let's-
stuff all day.
Yeah.
Well, that's present time, I'm open, so.
All right. Well, but we may need to set aside. I hate
Sure.
to say this, 3 hours on.
Well, I was gonna say 4. If we go into it, but,
Yeah.
That would require breakfast
Block
and
out.
lunch.
How does that work for you, Dee?
That's fine, I'd much rather the
What
third.
time?
Lunch and cocktails.
I would prefer afternoon only because we have all our
I have
payroll and
something-
everything Monday morning.
I have something in the morning, so it has
Okay.
to be the afternoon for me.
12 o'clock,
I'm open all day.
12 to 3?
12 and 3?
Can
I'll
we?
be on one of my
um,
vacation days.
Oh,
12. How about 12:30?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then,
I hate to say this. Can we do it 1?
1.
I've got something at 10:30. I want to
yeah,
make
that actually
sure.
works better for me. I think I'm dropping the little guy off at gymnastics at like
Okay.
12:30, so that actually.
How about 1 o'clock? Okay.
1 to 4?
I'm fine.
How would you work?
Yeah.
3 hours?
Pretty much the day's shot. So I'm not going back to work.
Oh, you want 12? Someone wants 12:30. So
No,
we get a
I'm-
sandwich. Are we still going to get a sandwich?
At 1? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll put
So
that
we're
down.
going 12:30?
Late lunch.
So don't eat if I
Well, I'm
get
not going to be eating
sandwiches.
that morning, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, but because
I haven't seen a problem with not eating it.
Because if we do, if we did wind up having breakfast and lunch, then we'd have to do a substantial financial.
We would.
Sure.
That's right.
Right.
So it's best to do. We'd have to end up spending more time, which would mean dinner.
Boy, it's too bad we're not meeting next week. It'd be so nice to be able to like refer to, a Christmas Eve memo, right?
It'll be the infamous Christmas Eve memo.
So when is it?
I got 1 to 4 listed on
1
mine.
to 4 on the 30th.
On the 30th.
Yeah, and everyone, go through the
Yeah,
memo
and-
and the ordinance. And
and if we all work on this ahead of time,
I'll bring
we'll
a
get a lot
computer
more.
and then,
Yeah,
then
I
maybe
agree.
We'll stitch. I think it sounds like we're all pretty
I think-
much on the same page.
Right.
So I
I
think we
agree.
should be able to sort of like stitch things together, smooth it out, think about the sort of like the logic behind our comments and the like, and be good to go.
So Lisa, did you email these to us?
No, but I will.
So
Want me to?
I think, these two documents and also our
Yeah.
opinion.
Email the 2
Yeah.
new ones.
Yeah, the 2 new ones in the opinion. I think would
And
be
then
helpful.
those news articles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you keep tabs on it too, if there are additional news articles in the paper, keep us
What it-
abreast of those.
okay.
I try to look for them, but I miss them sometimes. So
Okay. I
That
have all the
way-
ones so far.
I
This is
appreciate it.
interesting.
And let me just,
What's that?
I am out of
News
town
articles.
Yeah.
for the 6th. I'll be gone the first 2 weeks of January. So people, if you could think now about like freeing up some time maybe to make it to that elections commission meeting to, kind of be there to kind of like verbally support.
What day is the 6th?
It's a Monday. It's
I'll see if I can Skype
and I'm
everybody.
actually
meeting on
not
Monday.
available that day.
You can tell.
Yeah.
You can be there telephonically.
Oh, can I?
Yes, I can set that up for you.
From the beach or
From
wherever
you're actually, you're right. I can Bluetooth. I can be on my bike.
Okay. Sometimes I wonder, it's hard to get my full-time job satisfied for this non-paid part-time job.
What's the
Well,
truth?
can we say we're still on the record?
Yes,
Is that
we are.
correct?
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. We do have a couple things on unfinished business and 20 minutes to do it in.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second. I'm sorry, did somebody move to adjourn? I missed that. I was just
Was that a serious thing, or was
I don't know.
I don't know, it was seconded.
We have,
That happened awfully quick for us.
Yeah.
Then we have to.
According to Robert's rules, we are neither at our time, we are neither at our time limit, nor are we completed business on the agenda, so we must keep moving.
All right, well, under unfinished business, I know you've been really busy, but under unfinished A, amendment to AMC 15025, did you get,
Which one is, what is that? I have not done the advisory opinion I need to
there was
do.
a
Political activity.
NOPD,
Lisa, can I put these right here and then you can...
no, you were writing up something to the second respondent on NO. it's,
Oh, yeah, we did that.
2013-2.
Yes, we did that. The second one.
No, this the one. What we're on right
I'm
now
reading
is
what I've got here.
we wanted to amend AMC 115.025, the political activity, and Dr. Kelly was going to rewrite his letter into a generic letter to the respondent in a generic way, so that we could amend that political activity. And you were just going to find out if the respondent in that situation would waive confidentiality.
Oh, okay.
And I did that generic rewrite, and I emailed it to you the other day. Did you get it?
No.
Oh, well, it's electronic failure, yes.
I learned a thing or two from my students this week. Next, I'll send it to you in a corrupted file. That'll buy me a couple more days. As they say, your students teach you just as much as
And Mr. Nesbitt, you had a draft ordinance on that.
I did, yeah, we already talked about that.
You used your baby excuse.
My baby ate it?
No, that was your wife had a baby. That was a good one.
I got your email about that,
That
but the
was
file was
a
corrupted.
Yeah.
So basically, A is still unfinished.
Okay.
Do you have a
Yeah,
mo-
but
you need a motion to
but grades have been
continue?
submitted, so I will have that for our next regular meeting.
You see the grades or the?
Grades, no.
Oh, so no, you are done.
No,
Oh,
I've got a couple more things to
And this
submit.
is in
Okay.
4. And this is in 4. And I don't know if you guys aren't remembering what this is all about.
Well, you sent
You
me an
sent
email.
us an email.
Which
so
one?
I-
Which one is this?
All right.
I'll go find the email.
Yeah, you sent it to me.
It was under their homework that they got an assignment last week.
Yeah.
It's been out
I
there
saw
for
all
a
that.
few
It was
months,
under there.
actually.
Under B, 2013-3. D, you're the only one with the name on that one.
Is that the second half of the Luxing? I mean, you can say
No,
that.
that's
name.
2013-4.
No, this is
Okay.
This was
The
3.
school district.
School district,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay,
funds.
and I have not done that
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
And that I will.
Endeavor.
Well, this one might imagine I've been a little busy with ands and O's.
C is the update on the status of the 025H rewrite. We've already discussed that's going to be, we'll want to attend the public hearing, clear back and wait. It sounds like the late January.
Let's see, January the 28th.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And NOPV, 2013-4, you're looking at a final draft of the board's report for respondent 2. We already got respondent 1 here.
We've got them both.
We do?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
There's a copy of both, and these are all the letters. We have one to the chair of the assembly, of course to the respondent, one, the mayor, the municipal clerk, and then we have the letter to the respondent number 2, and then of course the complainant. I have a letter each for the respondent 1 and respondent 2. So
Okay.
if Keith will sign all those, I'll get those out today. I think you're gonna look at any of them.
While she's reviewing, you developed a procedure under E. Do we just need to accept that, the outline and code references?
Steve was going to come up with a review checklist.
Oh, have you done
based
that?
on that. I emailed that to you, and it said your box was full. It got bounced back.
Oh, really? Yeah, actually, I got it, but I couldn't open the file. It seemed to have been corrupted.
Send it to in a PDF form, everybody can open
I tell you what,
that.
I'm learning a lot from this. Are you
That's right, it's the educator.
My kids ain't going to do it.
I know. That's right.
So my excuse that Terry hasn't done his part still
It
holds.
got bounced back. I got it
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, we're still working. We're collaborating on it.
Okay. 'Cause that's-
Collaborating. Corrupted files being sent back and forth.
Well, I know when he sends me stuff, the virus protection kills it. That university's got all their stuff.
This is our modern
Moving on to F, revised application for candidacy. We were discussing for candidates, and that came to
This
you,
is me,
Lisa.
and I did do all my homework.
Gosh,
I did
oh,
that.
man.
Can you do- would you mind doing
that?
Linda and everything,
Drags herself in here.
So you, remember you asked me to see about getting a statement put on the, in the packet for the declaration of candidacy.
That's under
So
8F here.
I did that and I got it approved, and what you'll see is that I had a statement added to, this is the cover for the packet that tells them, all the things that they have to do to file their declaration. And then on the declaration itself, there's a statement that says, it is further understood that in accordance with AMC 1.15035K, if elected, I will complete my APOC public officials' financial disclosure and provide a copy to the municipal clerk's office within 30 days of assuming office.
Great.
Good.
And then they would sign that at the bottom.
So this way they can't say, well, I didn't know.
Right, and I did get the permission, I worked it up and then I ran it past our deputy, Amanda Moser, and she approved it, so
Where did you just read that?
It's all the-
The second on the
Yeah.
application itself,
Yeah, there you go.
declaration,
So, is this
Will it
the?
remain highlighted?
Yeah.
no.
Oh.
I
Is
mean,
it? Is this
I
the
kinda
asked
like
if it could be.
I know, I kind of like
The
it.
only problem I have with that is if, like on these road service boards and where you're elected there, if you don't spend any money, you don't have to file what they file.
But
No,
we're
but
telling
this-
them they will do it.
This tells them it is, because they're declaring candidacy, they're, by signature, they're acknowledging
Yeah,
that
but
they've
it
read
says here,
this.
it is further understood that in accordance with AM,
Right.
if elected, I will
Yeah.
complete my APOC.
Right.
He doesn't
Right.
have an APOC.
Well,
No,
when
he has
they
to- but
do
he
at
has to
that
do
point,
it.
they have to file.
They have
one.
to.
So when they're running, they can either go ahead and file their, the public
spend more
official
than
financial statement,
$5,000, yeah.
or if they want to, they can file an exemption form.
Right.
But once they're elected, they have to
Have
fill
to.
out.
And they're
the disclosure
acknowledging
form.
that they read this.
That
They
they
can't
read.
say, oh, it was somebody else's
Now, they might
responsibility.
ignore it, yeah, but
Yeah.
if
You
they,
can't-
ignorance is.
You can't pass it
yeah.
off on
Yeah,
somebody
but they
else.
can't ignore it now
Right.
because of.
Well, they
moving
could.
forward.
Yeah.
No, you've asked that the staffers.
Well, right.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
We,
yeah, but
so we
that's-
we built a check in too.
Yeah.
There's like two now,
Yeah,
two
right.
checks.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, no, that's good.
So is this the only
That's their homework.
declaration of candidacy form that requires this? Because all the other ones, they have to do APOC or
Yes.
not
That's why we only put it on the service
on the
area
service area board? Okay.
application.
So the school board doesn't, they have to fill one out already?
They already have to fill one
Okay.
out. On their the front page of their packet, it doesn't say or exemption form.
Okay.
It says, APOC form.
So this was the only area where, the only election that we had an issue with, was this type of candidate? Okay.
Right.
All right. All right.
Okay, well, that's
Okay.
good. Thank you for,
Yes, doing everything.
Could we make a recommendation to her, effective either 1st of January or whatever, to remove the previous year's minutes? Our books are getting big
Oh.
and full.
Sure. Yeah, send out the-
Yeah.
Send out the books.
Yeah, and get rid of that.
all this work that you do.
We need room to put our work in.
We got-
That's why.
That's
kinda
why, oh,
yeah.
clearly.
If we can pull out, this year's minutes.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I'll put that under 10 member comments,
Yeah.
All right.
since we don't have any reports I'm aware of.
Did we want to say something about minutes, about how we want to do our minutes narrative
Oh,
form?
Yeah, now well, that's under member comments, go ahead.
Regular form?
Now, the only follow-up I have to say about that is,
Yeah.
like you said, you couldn't get a recording from those other boards, and you couldn't, because who knows if they even record them, they probably don't. But we do record this board, and we do I put those recordings on immediately after these meetings are over. So, in that case, a recording is the best record. But if you want the second best to be even better, then, I can do it. I've been doing it. So.
Yes, Linda.
So when you say you put the recordings on, are they actually like on a website?
Mhm.
So you could listen to them like
Yes.
an iPod broadcast or something?
Yes.
A podcast, that's the word I was thinking.
And that was done here after our meeting last Thursday, where Dr. Kelly was quoted.
Yeah, it was quoted.
Was that just last Thursday?
Well, no, it was a couple of Thursdays ago.
I was like, that was like.
Or was it just
a year
last
ago. That was
Thursday?
about 120 term papers.
Yes.
One of the things that is helpful, though, is sort of what they do in court is a log versus whole statements, because then you know what's been said at that meeting and about where to find it.
And that's what I was talking about with the topical minutes, to list those topics, or like you said, a log, so that you know subject matter, And a perfect example is one
a
of these
name.
special meeting minutes, because there was a lot of back and forth going on with all of the opinion, and where is that at? So, for instance, I just put down, if you'll look under your minutes in 4C, request for advisory opinion, instead of going back and forth with Dr. Kelly said this, and, I just put down the consensus of the conversation. And factually, I listed facts. I listed the questions that were answered and what the answers to the questions were.
Oh, that's really good.
And then, is there notations, if I wanted to go listen to just that discussion, is there a way that I can to go to, to time mark this or that to be able to get to that part.
I can time mark
I don't know,
it.
I'm just asking.
Yeah,
how-
I mean,
Put just like a note, a log note.
I can time mark it.
Yes.
If you time mark it, what increments of time would be most useful for people? Because I think every 5 minutes would be very onerous for you.
I think so too. I don't want to, I
But
don't put any more
maybe
burden.
like 15-minute increments, would that be practical?
Or how about just on subject?
On
Like, for
subject,
example,
yeah.
That's
if
what
the
I was
subject is
thinking.
this, just put a time note
Yeah.
next to
Okay,
it.
from
Where,
here to here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wherever she feels
Yeah.
it's important, just log note it.
So,
Okay.
so
Yeah, that
some
makes
meetings
sense.
it won't be worth
That
it.
makes
Like
sense.
the special
You
meeting,
used to want more.
we were on the same topic the whole meeting.
But
So-
you know, it can be helpful if you,
You want to work more.
if it's a main speaker,
yeah.
it's just so someone can get into those, the oral thing, the audio, and not have to go through the whole.
Well, for like this meeting, it would be helpful
Right.
because we could say, at
Such and such time we
yeah,
start
1:50
discussing
p.m. We're discussing member
Eh,
comments.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can follow the agenda.
Mhm.
But when the agenda is like just one topic, I'm not sure that time hacks would be useful.
Well, we'd have to rely on her judgment to
Sure.
a certain extent to,
Yeah.
to summarize
Right.
what it is and where it goes.
Well, and I don't even think you necessarily need to summarize. It's almost
Right,
just like the
right.
log notes of a court. Maybe we could get a
Right.
copy of those where it's just, this person spoke, this person
Mm-hmm.
at a certain time. Now, when we're doing that back and forth, that's too difficult. But, whatever ways helpful time clips that you can think of.
Mhm.
Because it really, and then you don't have to listen to 40 minutes to try to find that.
I think, Lisa, having these abbreviated minutes, I mean, obviously, our last full meeting, which is what, was 4A, I think it's helpful to have, basically what you have here. Obviously, we talked more than what's here. So I would still like to have this type of summary minutes personally. Yeah.
I think they're useful.
Yeah.
I mean, as opposed to,
Mhm.
and again, I just know from my own experience, as opposed to like getting an audio file, digging for an audio file, looking for the proper pump. In the space of 5 minutes, you could pull up this document, read the whole document,
Right.
know entire, and then if you wanted to,
Yeah.
if you wanted to drill down, like, oh, what exactly did that person say? Then you already know the spirit of the debate.
Could
know
you
that-
do the audio clips corresponding to these?
That was my suggestion.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we
Yeah.
could maybe even put in the minutes that, for detailed board discussion, refer to the, audio file at muni.org
that's good.
/ethics /blah blah blah.
We're at two.
So
Unless that's just too much. I mean,
Yeah,
I
we're-
mean,
I feel like we're
I'm-
adding
to be honest,
more.
I'm comfortable having minutes like this in which people get the spirit of it, and then if someone really wants to drill down, I'm probably comfortable then saying, look, here's the audio file
Yeah.
of the meeting.
Okay, now-
Go find it. I think most citizens, when they read the quality of minutes that we get from this is going to be satisfactory to most citizens. They're going to get a sense of what happened, what the debate was, and then what action got taken.
Okay, now you get requests for the audio file, and the audio file goes up before the minutes do, correct?
Yes.
It has at least.
Well, typically when we're not highlighted, I like to do my minutes first,
Mhm.
and then because I have a lot of little things that I have to like fix on the recording when we accidentally say a name or something like that, and I fix all of those. So I'm literally listening to this meeting a couple more times, afterward.
You poor woman.
But lately, people have wanted the recording so quickly that I went through as fast as I could and took out any names or anything and put it up. But if nobody's asking for it, I usually like to do my minutes first.
Yeah, but when would they be asking for it?
Well, this last time they asked for it the same
Yeah,
day.
last time they
See,
wanted it right away.
They can't, you don't have to give it to them until they've been approved by the board. So the minutes have been approved. So they shouldn't be posted until after this board approves the minutes.
So what do you think, Dee? Or Linda? I mean, I don't know.
That's an interesting
I
question.
mean,
That is.
that's standard.
Well, the minutes, but we're approving
Board
the,
recording, right? It was
we're
a public
approving the
meeting,
minutes. We're
right?
not approving the
So-
audio.
Audio, yeah.
I don't.
That's my concern.
So
I'm sure the audio is a public record, so they can be
Yeah.
requested.
Yeah, because the
Without-
assembly meetings, I mean,
Yeah, we
they're
have to approve
made
that.
public, immediately right after the meeting. We just do a couple
Yeah.
of clicks of a button and you can go home
Yeah.
and watch it. So,
that's why Dee always advises us that we're still being recorded.
Yeah, that's why it's titled Melatonin. Click on it. And
Yeah. And I did listen to a few of these before I actually applied to be on
Did
the
you?
board. Yeah, I went in and
Did you
clicked
laugh?
on 'em. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting.
ours are very interesting. I chuckle quite a bit while I
Yeah,
I'll bet.
Well,
So at least one person.
so
is
do you
listening.
have sufficient guidance?
Yes,
you
I do.
feel? Okay.
And I actually am happy about that solution because when I first thought about doing just the action minutes, we don't have enough action to make it
Yeah.
substantive.
Right.
It just seemed like we needed more.
Yeah, that's
so.
excellent.
I,
think
I
you did a
think
great
I think
job.
a summary and then
Synopsis.
you know
Really
directing
good job.
people to the audio if they are really interested in it.
So I apologize, I know that means more work for you, but
Okay.
But
As long as you keep smiling, as long as you say it's funny, then I can
But obviously,
As long as
obviously
you-
you can complete your work in
Just giving her more.
Are there any other member comments?
Move to adjourn.
second.
No
It's been
objection.
moved to adjourn.
That was quick. Did you get that?
and
Yeah,
seconded
okay, now.
at 1:58.
Just in time.